Chris Martinez, I think we're on. I think I've got this. Welcome to Live Talk with Becky Chernek. And it is certainly a pleasure to have you here with me again after all these years. And I'm just thankful. Thank you for taking the time to be here with me. And
Thank
I'm
you
going
for
to tell
having
you,
me.
you've got an amazing background. And we're going to talk about your background first so everyone knows who you are. And I mean, gosh, all the books that you have written, what you're doing, who you're doing it with, and what's your deal, what it's all about. But first, before we get started, I do want people to understand who I am and what I do. You would think that everybody in the industry would know Becky Chernek, right? And what
Everybody
I
knows
do.
you. Everybody knows you.
You would think. In case everyone doesn't necessarily know who I am, I provide the very best in finance and insurance training for automotive dealers throughout the USA and Canada. And I always like to think that I'm very innovative and forthright with providing some really good content and getting F&I people on the right direction and helping dealers maximize profits while at the same time reducing that friction, right? And just putting that process together because that's what it's all about, impacting results that matter. And so I work from the time that customer lands on the dealership website to in dealership to meet and greet, from desking to finalizing that transaction. Now, hear me out. From not only F&I, but also hybrid and also even with that single point sales associate. So there you have it.
Awesome.
That's what I do. So now it's on to you, Chris. Now it's about Chris. So talk to us, if you will, about who you are, how long have you been in the industry, and how many books have you written?
So I've been in the industry since 2003, and so I'm going on 20 years. So February 2003. So February of next year, it'll be 20 years. So and I've written 6 books. My most of them have. They're actually all educational books, right? Even with this newest book that I just wrote, it's a children's book, and it's really just like where 4 kids have a self-discovery and decide, hey, you know what, I want to be a car sales professional as well. So, but the other books are more for sales managers, marketing, they're sales professionals, so that how people can go in the market, in any market, and really be successful in sales. And then what it took us as a store to go from 150 cars a month to over 1,000 cars a month. So I've written 6 books, and they're all they've done really well, and we do sell a lot of books. And but right now, currently, my role is I'm the executive director at Jackie Cooper Auto Group in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And we have 5 franchises: Porsche, Mercedes, Infiniti, Nissan, and Sprinter. And we've been doing really well. I've also founded a couple companies, a software company that I'm pretty proud of. We've got a great leadership team over there, and they've done really well. They've been pretty exceptional. TheAutominer.com. Aaron Sheeks, the president of the company, has done an amazing job with that company, and we're continuing to keep growing. So a little bit of everything, but first and foremost, I'm a family person. I love my family, faith, and then I love what I do and at the dealership, and we sell cars. So that's kind of me.
Well, that's from the time that I met you. And how many years ago was that, Chris?
It's been a while, about 4 or 5 years probably now, maybe longer.
4 or 5?
It's been a while.
It's got to be 10. Are you kidding me?
It
4 or
might have
5?
been
I don't
longer.
know.
Yeah, it's been a
Maybe I
while.
just lose track of time. No, you lose track
I
of
think
time.
you know what I think the last time we spoke, or not spoke, but last time we had an interview like this, I want to say it was like 2017.
I want to say you're probably about right. I mean, gosh, I remember meeting you with Grant when you were working with Grant Cardone. What's that
Yeah,
tell you?
yeah,
And
that's
I think I was at a conference.
yeah.
And I'm
No,
like, Chris, I love you, man. We have got to connect. I mean, I don't know what it was. It was just this conversation. It was just the way that you were, just the way that you are, you're just, you're just forthcoming. I mean, a field of great information, and you really care about people. I think people like to know that you care, right? And that it's you want others to succeed,
it's
and
you
you
know
really
that's
do a good job with that.
but that's what I love about this industry, right? I've been able to see so many people grow over the years, and that's man, if anything, that's what drives me to see people understand and get it, and then do even more. It's been a blessing for sure.
We've got some people coming on. I wanted to go ahead and mention Steve Apicella. Thank you, Steve. It's not a setup, I promise. But Becky thinks Evan I done better, Chernek. Your experience and contributions, personify leadership. Give great live talk tonight. Thank you, Stephen. Always appreciate to you as well. Here now, if you don't know Stephen Apicella, do you know Stephen Apicella,
You know what?
Chris?
I've seen the name. I've seen him before, but I haven't met him personally.
I'm telling you, this man is smart. He is freaking, it's ridiculous. He's really smart. He really has his he really understands the importance of before, during, and after sale. And he's got an amazing technology that supports that. So you two need to meet up one day. But I'll tell you, I think that you would certainly enjoy that conversation because he's quite amazing. Chris, priorities are on point. Family, faith, impact the world. I'm telling you, you two would definitely get along very, very well. And then, of course, Terry. Terry, good to see you. And I heard Terry's presentation today on the pitch on Clubhouse. Do you ever go into Clubhouse, Chris?
When it first came out during the shutdown, I was on there, but it just at one point I was getting so many invites that like throughout the day that my work day is pretty hectic, so it's kind of hard for me to do it. So I had to turn off all the notifications, and as a result, I rarely get on there. Every now and then I try to sneak on to see what's going on, but I find it's just hard to do.
Yeah, they've got some really good, interesting content on there.
Oh, they do.
For the longest time snubbed. I mean, I just I don't have time I don't have time for this. And I got a chance to get on it, and I was pretty impressed, especially in the morning. They have some really good content, really good content. So this morning I thought, yeah, jump in, see about this pitch stuff. And it was really cool. And Terry, I thought if you're still around, I thought you did a great job. And and anyway, so it's not easy. You got to present
Oh,
um
for sure. No, it's
like in
difficult for sure.
seconds or something. And but I kind of like it there. It's a little different format. You can't see one another and you kind of talk a lot. So it's something that not that I do enjoy obviously speaking, but I don't know. I just still have to figure that one out. So, all right. So I wanted to talk about your post.
Okay.
I want to hit it. I want to talk about Carvana. I want to talk about you were very adamant on your post about Carvana failing. It's like they're a colossal. I don't know. Maybe I'm using that adjective myself. Colossal. And so my question to you is this: are they a colossal failure, or have they taken the last breath, if you will, or are they on their second breath?
With the acquisition that they just did, it's hard to understand what they're truly trying to accomplish. I mean, I knew for a while now that Odessa had been doing all their reconditioning to try to help them scale their business. But if they just maybe focus more local. I mean, there's a couple of things that they could potentially do to help, mitigate a lot of the losses that they're doing. Because look, let's face it, at the end of the day, they figured out a way to sell 425,000 cars last year, and that's a lot of cars. I mean, that's half of what CarMax did. And they're the second largest used car retailer in the country. So there's they've already proven that there's a market for that, right? Customers do want to go online and buy the car directly if that's the only way they can buy it. But there's now they've got car dealers that are posting their inventory on their website, so they're turning it into more of a marketplace. I understand that model a little bit. So I think they're not dead by no means. I think they're gonna, the guys, he's Mr. Garcia is innovative. He's forward thinking. But it just depends on if he's going to be able to raise enough money, right? He borrowed that loan at a high rate. I mean, how many times anybody go and get a $3 billion loan for 10%, or whatever it was. It's kind of like just unique in what they're trying to accomplish. I don't know that they're completely gone. I mean, their stock's down 90%. I think last 6 months ago it was trading at like 268, almost 270 a share, and now it's trading at $25 a share. So, there's a lot there that they could be doing to help continue to grow that business. And then them laying off the amount of people they did, I guarantee you that's what they had to do in order to qualify for that loan. They had to, show that they could be profitable. So, and I know Odessa had there's a lot of dealers jumping ship there too. So there's a lot, we'll see what that looks like. But, on the other side, there's other dealers that are willing to put their inventory on their website as a marketplace, like an Auto Trader or Cars.com type thing. So they're trying a lot of different things. They did get Hertz to put all their inventory on there, so they're basically the selling arm for Hertz. So that's gonna help as far as their inventory. And they're telling dealers that if you put your inventory on their website, you're going to sell that car within 30 days. So there's some appeal to that for some dealers. We personally don't want to support that model at all with our organization, but there's some dealers that are willing to. So we'll have to see what that looks like in the next 6-12 months.
So when you say you don't want to support, I just want to make sure I'm clear-minded on that, right?
Yeah. So me as a dealer,
Yeah.
the organization that I work with,
Mhm.
we don't want to put our inventory on their website. So that's the model that we're not supportive, or even Toyota pulled out on Odessa. There's a lot of dealers that I know of and that I've heard of that are not putting their inventory on Odessa. And that's one of the things that it's only so much that you got a company that started by saying don't go to the dealership, and just a different way of buying, and just kind of basically putting down the traditional side of things and just telling everybody that they're a better way to buy cars. So why support somebody that's been bad mouthing you the whole time? That's my opinion.
Okay, so I love your opinion. That's why you're here. And so, okay, so Stephen Epicella says, no matter how anyone feels about Carvana, Tesla, or any other online only retailer, they have made the brick and mortar segment of our great industry better.
Oh, for sure. It's put everybody on notice. Everybody's got to have a better process online. And the dealer body is pretty resilient. We've gone through a lot of different 9/11. We've got the 2008 financial crisis. There's a lot of different reasons why the dealer body has, pulled out ahead in all those areas. So this is no different. I see with companies like this, it just makes you get better. So it's something that's helpful for sure.
So Andy says they proved 500,000 people were looking for a different way to transact, also known as a different experience. So I want to talk a little bit about this. Do you mind?
Oh, absolutely.
I really want to hit hard at this because on my experience. So part of my experience that some people know, I don't even know if you know, but back in my retail days, because I had retail days. I grew up in Baltimore, right? I'm from the streets in Baltimore. I did box closing. I'll confess. I did everything that I wasn't supposed to do. All right already. But then I came clean and I actually worked I ran a Saturn dealership. And
Okay.
at the time, it was, like, totally unheard of. It's like, "Who in the Becky, what are you thinking? What are you doing? Don't you know those doors are gonna shut down in a year? Who in their right mind is gonna continue to pay full retail when they can go shop a car down the street, I don't know, a Honda, and negotiate for it? Why in the world would you even think that this might even be worth your while?" Well, you know what? As it turned out, it was. It was probably one of the best experience. Go Orioles. I love this one. Wait a second. Go Orioles. That's exactly right. Thank you. Whoever put that in there, I'm not quite sure. But coming in from Facebook, if you just put your name in there, I would recognize it. Is that you, Larry? Um, but yeah, so oh, wouldn't you know it? Me too. Okay. Orioles or B or Saturn. So the thing was, it was unheard of, right? That we would have that we could be terribly upfront. The customers would continue to buy these cars and not want to haggle. They did. I mean, to tell you, I mean, it was amazing how many people
You know,
come in.
but it's the same thing that Toyota did with the Scion, right? I think where the pitfalls was they tried to change the way the cars looked completely, and they just weren't that desirable, in my opinion.
I don't, you know what? It didn't matter. You had these SL2s, you had C2s, and it didn't matter. These guys were buying these cars left and right. They just loved the idea of coming into this store and not being taken advantage of. So they thought, and not that they were, because I didn't feel like we did until they got into F&I. Just kidding. So Bill Hood, he was our F&I manager, and he would draw that line by the F&I office and go, "Okay, that's Saturn, this is F&I." No, I'm just kidding, but no, he really did back then. So, okay, so here we are, and okay, so I don't blame Carvana for utilizing this no haggle option. And so here's the other thing. How about AutoNation? So again, here I am in my career, and here comes Jack. So I've got to let me stop here for a second. Let's see what Jack has to say here for Jack Hufford. Um, if you'd like to read this, Chris, you can. You can participate. I don't have to be the only one. So in a sense, I agree with you, Andy. Unsure exactly of where you're coming from, but is this pursuit in a different way to transact due to it being merely because it's online, or to escape the typical experience in many of these dealerships? And you know what? That's where I'm going.
I think it's a combination of both because, if you find a car, a unique vehicle, a car that the price is right, and that's the only way to transact, then you're going to go there, right? Um, and then there's those other people that, are afraid, deathly afraid of the car dealer because you got commercials like Vroom that have a car dealer that has jumper cables and makes them look like they're the big bad wolf, and it's just really not the case. I mean, there's definitely that perception that the consumer has, unfortunately, and there's been, there's a couple bad apples here and there. You hear about them all the time, that it cause that perception to expand. But I think that for the most part, if you had a dealership or some place that they could go in and pick up the car and actually talk to someone, like CarMax has proven, because CarMax does both models, right? You can buy it online and you can go to the store and pick it up. So, and they sold 1 million cars essentially last year. So, and I think that Carvana's, they've spent a fortune, advertising. Yeah, I was on a conference, maybe 6, 7 months ago, and one of the presenters said that Carvana spends on average of $2,000 a car to advertise a vehicle. I mean, how many dealers are spending $2,000 a car? I mean, none I know of.
No, I think that Carvana has been able to obtain their funds to be able to market and to buy cars at a high price, more so than dealers. I get that whole thing. But I also get the idea, the concept behind it. And I'm not going to go ahead and I think dealers need to own some of this.
Oh, for sure. I
I
agree.
really do.
I
I
agree.
think that they have played the games. I've been there. I've watched it. I'm in dealerships. I continue to see it, and they need to take some ownership here and say,
I
you know
agree.
what, this Carvana deal would have never gotten to where it was if it hadn't have been for some of the stupid stuff that some of these dealers
And
do and continue to do.
what's unfortunate though, too, I mean, or what's unbelievable is that, I mean, you've been able to buy a car online for a long time, but the Carvana's message has been the loudest. Like, hey, you can buy it online. Well, yeah, there's still somebody that at some point can reach out to you and call customer service reps that they have in Phoenix at a call center that talk to them as well. It's the same thing a dealership can do. I mean, right now there's different digital retailing tools that give you that ability to have more of a perception that you're buying it online, but there's still certain areas that you have require a wet signature. So there's still that. So until we get those type of forms completely done online, I don't see that even Carvana is 100% online. So
Well, they're okay. And I don't disagree with you. Chris, by the way, you had Steph. Love Chris Martinez. What a brilliant guy. See, there's your fan club. It's coming.
Steph
And you
is
do have a
awesome.
big fan club.
Steph
But
is awesome.
I gotta say that first of all, I think 1 to 2% of dealers throughout, and maybe it's 3, 5. Okay, let's go 5, and benefit of the doubt, that are really utilizing the tools of being able to not only meet a customer online, but also to take that integration from online to offline, from online to in dealership, to online to the meet and greet, to being able to penetrate from that meet and greet to the desk, from the desk to the F&I, and have it all go in unison, reducing the friction to buy a car. I don't see it happening
I
as,
think it's
as
more.
well as it happens with Carvana, Vroom, and some of these
It's definitely
online
regional.
providers.
I've got a regionally, like, give you an example where I'm at in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Mhm.
We've offered digital retailing. I mean, buy at home.
By that,
working
I don't but what I mean, I don't mean to cut you off, but what I'm not talking about is I'm not necessarily talking about that it's all being done online, just completely remote.
No, no, I
What I'm
understand.
saying is both ways, and really
Yeah.
being able to dive into it and completely digitalizing the entire experience.
So we've done, we spent a fortune trying to make sure that we can try to provide that experience for the consumer. But we built it and they didn't come. Uh, we have maybe, we sell 600 cars a month,
Mhm.
maybe 1 or 2 people that wanted us to go deliver the vehicle and test drive it from home and do all of that. I mean, a lot of people still just want to come in, schedule an appointment, and pick up the vehicle, look at it, touch it, feel it, and it might be, I could see that in maybe New York, where it's tighter, and maybe that you can see more mass adoption there in the bigger cities. But here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, we just don't have it.
So let me ask you, okay, do you mind if I say something to Andy
Go ahead.
here?
Go ahead.
Andy's from Baltimore. And you know what? He actually started with Bill Schaefer nationwide. And you know what? Andy, I'm going to share something with you that's just going to blow you away. I'm going to talk about a little history. My father was a car dealer in well, I actually had a Cadillac and Pontiac store in Havertide, Maryland. But before then, he worked with Chesapeake Cadillac Company. And you can ask Bill. I don't even know if Bill still alive? Anyway, he might be. I don't know. He's in his late 80s, I think. I don't know. But my dad told me that he hired Bill Schaefer over at Chesapeake Cadillac years ago. Small world, isn't it? And so Nationwide is, yeah, I know exactly where Nationwide is. Isn't that Timonium? But back in the day. Anyway, small world, isn't it? So yeah, so I don't know. I think that yes, you know, how many customers are truly going through the complete digital journey? And you know, that's the thing. And I think that's what you're saying. It's like they kind of get online a little bit and kind of play around a little bit, but then when it's all said and done, they're coming into a dealership and it's like they're not, they're shopping like they've always shopped. Isn't that what you're saying to me?
Absolutely.
And I'm hearing that too. But okay, so let me ask you this. Now, with the way inventory is, and believe me when I tell, well, I don't have to tell you, you can tell me more. I mean, you're in the trenches every day. What's inventory like? What's new inventory like? Is it hard? I mean,
It's non-existent. So,
us,
I mean, you know, I hear the reports that, oh, the car sales is down. Well, they're down because there's no inventory, you know, new car inventory. It's, you know, it's not looking good. Every manufacturer that I work with is cutting production. They just don't have the parts.
yeah.
It is what it is where we're at right now. And I expect that used car prices are going to go up even further, unfortunately.
That's just
Right now,
unbelievable.
if you
Yeah.
look at most dealers' inventory, I've never seen more dealers with cars that have 80 to over 100,000 miles on their lot.
Yeah.
You know, the average vehicle on the street today is like 12 and a half years now. So it's, you know, there's going to be the minute that inventory can start coming back for new cars, I mean, we're going to see some of the biggest new car months we've ever had.
Okay. All right. So in the meantime, though, is that kind of still now training more people to shop online for cars? And
For
also
sure.
while
I
they're
mean,
at it, shopping financing online.
shopping financing online, the credit unions are, you know, stronger than ever. Banks have to be more competitive. But with the recent rate hikes, that's going to slow things down too. So there's just like a perfect storm of things that are happening that, you know, I don't know that you can, you know, drive rates high enough for them I mean, they'll slow down because there's lack of inventory. But you know, people are more and more people are going to opt to wait to purchase vehicles just because the rates. But then they're running into the challenges of part availability. So now their cars are breaking down, but now we've got to wait forever to get these parts. So now, you know, what are they going to do? So there's a lot of different challenges that we still haven't seen that are coming more so in the next couple of months for sure. So it's unfortunate.
So I just think that I see where you're coming from, Chris, because from your perspective, it's not anything different than I'm hearing from some other dealers who are saying, you know, we've got all this stuff back. I'm telling you, we dialed in some time ago, but our customers aren't really kind of playing that way. And they're really kind of coming in and shopping for a car like they have always done. We'd love for them to try the digital journey, but that's not what they want to do. And
Because, you
and
know, a lot
so
of times it's still an emotional purchase, you know, Specifically, when we sell, Porsches, Mercedes, people want to feel that experience. They want to go in, they want to look at it, and I'm not, I think about the Netflix and Blockbuster days, that story that Blockbuster said, people are going to still go to the store and they're going to rent because they like the experience. I get it. Like, we can't be naive to think that that's not going to happen one day. But until then, just keep treating people right and treat them with respect and see how we can help them and sell them more cars and build that relationship. I look at the
Yeah.
McDonald's and Chick-fil-A model all the time. McDonald's has all kinds of, screens and trying to reduce the head count in their stores. And Chick-fil-A's, it looks like they're increasing head count and they're more profitable.
So I think what we're talking about here, for me anyway, I do see where the two just come hand in hand. Technology really can help to enhance the overall customer experience, and it's just how it's being used and utilized, right, to
Yeah.
make that happen. And especially when I see the um, the friction and the time it takes to get that deal from the time they desk that deal, from the time that deal makes its way into the F&I office, I just want to sometimes, can I just say the word? Do you mind me saying, cover your ears? I just want to puke. I mean, it's like, what are y'all doing? It's like, why can't I get a deal straight? What's going on with this? I don't understand it. Why can't I get a digital deal folder? What is up with this? Why do I always have to be chasing everything, all these steps, everything to get a deal right? Why does this
And, and
always have to take so
And part of it
long?
and part of it is the technology still hasn't caught up. You got companies like Reynolds, CDK. I mean, they're
That's I gotta tell
moving
you, Chris,
forward,
wait a
but
second. No, 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 no. Prodigy and some of these others, they can certainly do it, and it's been done. And they can completely take all the paper off the floor and completely digitalize the entire experience. And they
I
can
agree.
speed it up. It's
I
just
agree.
not happening.
I agree. I think the part of it is, because Prodigy, which is now, I forgot, they changed their name.
Upstart,
Upstart. That's right.
right?
Upstart.
Upstart, yeah.
And I mean, the good tools. AutoFi is another one. Like, I've seen a lot of their tools, but when you start looking at what we've done, I mean, Reynolds has some. I mean, currently I use Reynolds, and they have a lot of good products that we've used. But once you start adding more and more expenses, I mean, at what point do you change your whole process to get some of these things? Because I mean, we already have some of these things kind of digitized. The things that are scanned and just kind of in the tools. I don't know. I don't know if it's an extra step that you might save your sales professionals. But I'd like to see a completely turnkey model, starting from the DMS all the way through. Because now
Well, I think that we would all like that. I think that's where Techion might
that's
be
where
coming
Techion's
from.
trying to go. So I'm rooting for them. At some
It's
point,
going to take a while,
it's going to take
but
a while. We know
yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah.
it's going to take a while. So
But I'm just saying that there is a way. One of the things, I don't know if you've ever seen my live talks with Brian Kramer. Brian Kramer
yes, no,
is,
he's done a great job. I like I like his content. I like his.
yeah,
I think he sold a car in the what did I forget, the
metaverse.
metaverse now.
He sold his first car in the metaverse. Go figure. But here's a guy 3 years ago, after COVID or during COVID or whatever it was, he took the opportunity to really completely digitalize his entire workflow, and he did it. And I talked to his F&I person, Dora Musey, and I'm going to tell you, it was the most frustrating experience this woman has ever been through. It was not
Oh,
easy
it's
going from
it's like
traditional to digital. It's called it makes it's a lot of work.
it's like
And
being a CRM. I mean, nobody wants to go through that brain damage.
well, especially F&I, I mean, it's like, oh man, come on, Beck. I don't want to do that interview. Are you freaking out of your mind? I'll wait till the customer makes their way into the F&I office. I'll do the interview there. And I'm like, it's too late.
Too late.
What are
Too late.
y'all thinking? right?
Oh, for sure. Well, now we've got a good process. We're definitely doing our interview way before then.
Yeah. So you want to engage and make sure that some of this is correct before that customer makes their way into F&I. And so and good for you, and that's great. But there's a lot of other stores out there who quite can't figure that piece out still. They're still behind the times, or they're the F&I people. I mean, let's just call it what it is. I mean, I think it's just better not to sugarcoat things. I think it's just better. Let's just talk about it because it's
I
never going
agree.
to get better unless we talk about it. But these F&I people don't want to do an interview.
Which is
It's too
shocking to me.
hard.
Yeah, no, it's
It's
shocking.
like, no. And I'm like, well, why in the world would you want to why would you do that to yourself? And then knowing that the deal may not necessarily be straight. And now all of a sudden the customer's upset. You've lost your credibility. And,
And
that's
then you've
when
got that
it's
perception of time that it's taking too long.
amen. Amen. So let's just see here. Stephen Napasella. The environment where the online retailers exist is self-inflicted by the poor experience delivered or resistance to change created by some brick and mortar dealers. It is. Digital retailing is to simply cast a wider net for those who desire to engage that way. It doesn't mean the in-store experience is dead. Exactly. That's where I'm going. I think we as every store is different. There's no such thing as a cookie cutter same to all approach. There just isn't. But we all have to recognize that, you know what, customers don't want to be in your dealership all day buying a car. They We've got to reduce the time it takes.
Oh,
It's
I
like,
agree. And that's,
right?
and we pride ourselves on that. We do everything we can to make sure that we shorten that time frame. I mean, I've done a study, tons of time. I used to work for CarMax for 6 years, 7
There you
years.
go.
So
I knew there
believe me,
was a reason why I liked you. No.
I'm very much in the process and structure and making sure
Yep.
that we have something for a consumer that experience that's going to be seamless. So we don't want to have a customer having to wait to buy 3 hours to buy a car. We want them in and out as fast as possible for them.
Well, I tell you, had knew about CarMax back in the day when I was working with the AutoNation stores when I was working with JM&A. And CarMax at the time was Circuit City. And I'm really
Oh
kind
yeah.
of dating myself a little bit. And then AutoNation was coming out and they were the one pricing store. It was the pre-owned, right? One
Oh yeah.
pricing environment, right? And this is where we met customers at a kiosk in the middle of the showroom. This is when we presented menu and everybody was freaking out. How can you be upfront and still be profitable? I
Yeah.
mean, right? Do you remember
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
And it
I
was just
know.
like they didn't want anything to do with that. It's like, are you out of your mind? What Kool-Aid are you drinking? And then into the new car stores we went. And so it took on legs and menu selling took on the name and it went nationwide and more dealers wanted to know more about it. But um, there's a lot to that. And
The landscape is going to continue to change and evolve. This pandemic has sped up that process a little bit more. I think the shortages and the logistics that have happened are putting in new challenges that manufacturers have never seen before. And that direct model that they're working towards, a lot of the OEMs that are talking about it. It's kind of all that's the talk of the town right now, especially with Ford coming out directly and saying that they're going to do 100% online.
yeah,
You had brands like Volkswagen trying to revive the Scout brand, and you're just going to see more and more of that, just because the whole supply chain has been disrupted due to you've got the war in Ukraine. They had a lot of supplies that we used for different manufacturers out there. China with the COVID shutdown just recently, and they shut down for another 2 months. So that's what's causing a lot more you know prolonged chip shortages and other shortages on different parts of the vehicle. So you're going to see, the landscape is definitely changing, evolving faster than it would have been had this pandemic not happened.
Right. Yeah. All day long. Chris, 3 years ago. I mean, well, when did COVID hit? What year was it?
2020.
You're it. You're right there. 2019, 2020, right? And I got to tell you, I mean, talk about technology. There was only a few of these online retailers. AutoFi was one, and Credit IQ was another.
Oh
And
yeah.
remember Credit IQ?
Uh-huh.
They sold out. Who they sell to? I can't remember. But lucky them, because that's the idea, isn't it? You check wonderful tech company, but I got to tell you, few and far between. And look at where we are in 3 years. And this
It's
is why I'm saying, dealers, you got to wrap your heads around this
oh
stuff.
yeah. I
Because
mean,
if
and
this
you've
is
got
just 3 years, what's going to happen in the next 2 years, Chris?
and you just gotta stay lean. You've got to make sure watch your expenses, make sure you're profitable. Save to invest because things are going to be at some point. With these big consolidations on just the car dealers in general, right? Lithia's been on a buying spree. Just everybody that I've seen more and more consolidation. Um, it's these next 6 to 12 months maybe the toughest time in the automotive space that we've seen a very long time, and there's going to be some dealers that weren't prepared, weren't were thinking that this was going to last forever, and are going to be caught, like Warren Buffett said, when the tide comes in, you'll see who's been swimming naked. So it's kind of what's going to happen.
Well, it is. And I think there's a lot of, and I'm not asking people to be perfect by any means, because I know I'm not. I'm far from, I'm not even, but I do think we got to take some of these blindfolders off, and we have got to realize, there's other ways of doing this. And we don't have to simply put these blindfolders on and say, oh, that company's failed. They're never, just like what they did with Saturn, just like what they did with AutoNation. And AutoNation, Megastores, they did pretty damn good considering the fact that they were selling 300, 500 cars a month, used cars out of those facilities.
Oh yeah.
CarMax, the same thing. That's where we were going before I lost my train of thought there. CarMax has done a hell of a job. And,
They're the real deal. I mean, they've done a
yeah.
great job. They know how to scale. Where I see, a lot of groups, they very much, these smaller groups they don't standardize their process. A lot of them don't standardize their processes. They very much still work independently of each other. And where there's, that's where they can cause they can impair their growth potential. So the ones that get it, they continue to thrive and grow. And the ones that don't, they will go away,
So
unfortunately.
let me ask you a question now that you open up those can of worms for me. He's like, what? What is she up to now? Well, you knew this was coming. So, okay, GMs. Some of these stores give the autonomy of the GM to run their stores. And so you have, like you were saying, you have a group, and each dealer group, every store you go in runs different than another. Is that a smart way of doing business today?
I would disagree with it. Like I would not that model in my opinion isn't a good model. You want to standardize everything. That's the only way you're going to scale. You have to have foundational people, structure, a team.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, it's going to be very difficult to scale.
Well, look what happened in Napleton.
Yeah.
A rogue GM decides to make his own decision as to how he was going to do it different than everyone else. And I can't imagine they're the only ones, right? They just are big enough. They got the bigger target. Hey, let's just hit them. Maybe for other reasons. I don't know. Don't even want to get into. But here's a rogue GM that just makes their decision. Hey, this is how we're going to run, like it or not. And I remember years back, Gunderson Chevrolet, same deal, same GM, same situation. DMV came marching in to do an audit. And next thing you know, they realized, hey, you guys got some bad stuff going on, and I think they arrested the GM and some of the other employees for doing deceptive practices. But okay, so Jack Hufford is talking about this Farley release, and it just has him going. And I know it. I am telling you, if you've read any of some of these posts that are going on about this Farley release, everyone is like
I just read
alarmed.
there was the latest. I think Mike Maroney was talking to on CBT News, and so he was talking about an article where I guess their PR people were kind of like crawfishing and saying, well, what he meant was, and so I think he kind of maybe jumped the gun a little bit or was trying to create policy on the fly, and um, I think he's gonna. We'll see. I mean, idea at the end of the day, that's where they want to go. They're gonna have some challenges, and it's not as easy as everyone thinks. Look at what Tesla's had to go through. I mean, how many years did they bleed money? But now they finally figured it out, and they're super profitable, and they're gaining momentum. So
Well, I know Elon Musk said, you know what? Here's the thing. I had to go ahead and spend the night there. He's what was it? He was talking to his employees.
Oh
It's
yeah.
time for you guys to get back in the office. And he says, I saved a company that way. I want you back in there. There is no reason why you need to be home anymore.
I mean, he still has his house in the factory, right? Or it's like right
Yeah,
outside
you don't even
there.
have a house.
Well, no, he's got like some kind of like compact house that's like built right next to the factory. So it's kind of where he stays now.
I don't want to bring up anything, but I think that's the same thinking Trump has. I mean, I'm not trying to get politics or anything, but I do remember his whole thinking was I never leave the corporate office, and he was very adamant about that. Stephen Apicella says if OEMs continue their match to eliminate dealer choice of what solutions a dealer uses for sales, F&I and service, the dealer's name ultimately won't matter because they'll all be OEM clones, delivery centers. There's so much to be said about that. The partnership between dealers and OEMs and the support community needs to be strengthened, not be strained.
Yes.
So I see them not only obviously controlling that sale, but also controlling everything else that has been major profitable for dealers such as F&I. And I think Stephen definitely has a good point when it comes to their thinking on
Well, they're looking at the
F&I.
pocketbook, right? So look at Tesla. If you added all of the different the manufacturers, you could roll them all up into what Tesla basically has the whole market cap, right? So, I mean, they're looking at Tesla, the big, it's huge now, and they're making a lot of money, and they have a higher market cap than all of the manufacturers combined. So they're looking at that and thinking, well, wait a minute, how come we can't get there? And so now they're trying to figure out a way to connect the dots, and it's a lot harder than everyone's thinking it's going to be.
I agree with you I just think that we need to collectively decide, okay, there's some good stuff with what's going on, and we need to embrace and learn how to adapt and
I agree.
thrive instead of
And believe me, and so I could see dealers, if they already haven't been trying to do more in used cars, because of this pandemic, no new cars means what else do you get? What else are you going to sell? So pre-owned is the market right now, and you've got to be very good at what you're doing to dominate in this market right now.
So Jack says, I think it's a great time for dealers and groups to focus on CX development, especially with seamless transitions from online to in store. I couldn't agree with you more there. I think we really need to, kind of figure that whole thing out. And if there are customers like CarMax, they figured it out. if customers want to go ahead and
You
start
know,
some of the buying and
I can
bring it
tell
in
you
store.
the last time I worked at CarMax was 2008, maybe. That was right at the financial crisis. That was the last year I started work there, and their technology is still so much further ahead of what I've seen in the marketplace today. And I haven't worked there in 12 years, something like that. So,
Wow.
and from the technology that I remember back then. So just imagine what that technology looks like today. It's got to be even far more superior.
Oh,
And
it is. I mean, they really know how to
oh,
I mean, they really have figured out a way to, okay, you want to shop this way? Fine. You want to shop that way? Great. If you want to shop this way,
like I'm
fine. It
telling you,
doesn't much matter.
in 2008, the technology that I was working on or working with in those stores is still ahead of anything I've seen in the market today.
I give them credit because, I remember back again on our Nation Day when they were saying, "Sure, bring your car over. We'll go ahead and put we'll put appraisal on it." Well, yeah, no doubt. You don't even have to buy a car. That's fine. And I was thinking, who does that? Well, now look. I mean, everyone on the planet. If you're here, I bet they even know what's going on in Canada. Though, if you want an appraisal on your car, you go to CarMax.
That's
That's the
really
first place they go to.
isn't that shocking? The
It's
dealers, I mean,
amazing.
that was free advertisement for CarMax for sure.
And who would have ever thought that that's where they were going with it? It's just genius. It's genius. And so I look at some of these elements, whether it be from Saturn, I look at some of these elements from AutoNation, I look at CarMax, I look at Carvana, I look at Vroom, I look at these others and wonder what, because I'm not sold that I want to just buy a car remotely. I think customers want to, they don't have a problem coming into a dealership, and these showrooms are beautiful. What's not to like? Get a cup of coffee. They're beautiful. I mean,
Wait,
right?
but as the push towards EV, I
Oh
forget the
yeah.
guy's name, Tony Seba, I think is his name.
Yeah.
He has a great book. Actually, look at his presentation. It's on YouTube. He talks about the disruption of the EV of the electric vehicle, right? And where he talks about the combustion engine basically has like I don't know 28,000 moving parts or something like that, and he talks about like the EV only has like 150 moving parts. So you know as it evolves in the next 20 years or however long it's going to take for us to be 100% EV, if they're going to be able to fix cars over the air, then do you really need to have a huge service bay? So I
Oh,
mean,
that's another thing that are freaking dealers out.
yeah. But
And who is that? Oh gosh, what's the name of the company? Where yeah, they are doing remote servicing. And so that means customers don't even have to come into a service department. Yeah, dealers are freaking out over that. And they need to. They need to understand what's happening with these apps, that
oh
they're
yeah,
perfectly designed to go ahead and remotely maybe somehow be able to repair these vehicles without a customer having to go into service. I mean, this stuff is
oh yeah.
unbelievable.
I mean, Tesla's already proving that, right? With their over-the-air updates. I mean, somebody had a complaint on a vehicle. I forget exactly what it was, but the next day, his engineers had a fix for it and updated it to every car in the market in just by an update, right? Over-the-air update, and it was fixed. I mean, the
I
fact that
think
you
it's
can make your
amazing.
car faster by just over the air and just say, okay, I'm going to make it ludicrous mode. I mean, there's just a lot of technology out there that's getting better. It's getting smarter, and we're going to see there. It's definitely going to be different 20 years from now for sure.
Well, I'm hoping that I'll still be around, Chris, in 20 years from now. I don't know. I might be a little
You
retired
and I
by then.
both. I'd love to be here in 20 years for
I'll
sure.
still have my live talk with Becky 20 years from now with my cane.
That's
But
awesome.
Andy says the transition from online to in-store without pausing, going backwards, or worst of all, starting all over again. Amen. And I want you to remember, Andy is from Baltimore. He is from Baltimore, and talk about that place is as old school as you can get, but he gets it. No, I can't. I'm with you there, Andy. But he understands what I'm saying. And that's exactly right. The transition from online to in-store without pausing, going backwards and all that is just bad business. It needs to be seamless. This is what I think we've all proven. This is what the whole deal is all about. And I think dealers just need to get on the stick on it and quit doing some of the old things that, obviously have made them successful. But you know what? It's time to adapt. And then Stephen Apicella says people matter, but so does processes too. Should F&I revenue only reside with the one-time? Gosh, he's so right about that. One-time menu presentation alone. Should the frictionless